Hello, Guardians. Welcome back to Tower Casuals, the Destiny podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Corey Derrigan. Alongside me, as always, is the massive FTC breach, Josh Finney.
God. Just, Corey, it's been a week.
It's been something.
I thought this was going to be a fairly laid back week. I thought I was going to get to enjoy some time with Cyberpunk 2.0. Well, that didn't happen because it released today. So I got to have maybe 2 hours with it, and I'm leaving town now. But you know what it happened?
You know, if you had a Steam Deck, you could take it with, or ROG Ally, you could take it with you.
Brother, I was about to fall asleep. I think it was Monday night going into Tuesday is the timeline.
Mm-hmm.
And my phone starts lighting up and dinging, and people going, a couple of friends asking me, hey, have you seen this yet? And it was an email from Phil Spencer talking about, from 2020, by the way, from summer 2020, prospectively talking about buying Nintendo. Yeah. If you read it, it was really like the nice way of like telling mergers and acquisitions, this is never going to happen, LOL. Yeah. But that turned out to be the first in like an hour and a half of just never-ending documents coming out that were erroneously uploaded without protections.
Yeah, I don't know if you watched the Digital Foundry video though. They totally go into a deep dive of like everything there. Whatever their weekly show is, when like
that's who I would trust to talk about the new console and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like we got the mid-gen refresh console leaked. We got specs for whatever is going to release in 2028. New controllers leaked. The entire Bethesda roadmap for like 4 to 5 years got leaked.
Mm-hmm.
Game Pass negotiations. God, there's so much there.
The new controller, the Series S refresh again.
That one threw me for a loop. But I mean, if these are older documents, that makes sense. Yeah. Because I think that the Series S refresh is supposed to be the 1 terabyte that we got this year.
Yeah, but the image, I mean, I know that these are from 2020 through like, I think there was 1 or 2 documents from 2020, early 2022 at the latest.
Yeah.
But like,
yeah.
That Series S in that picture doesn't have any regular USB ports. It has some USB-Cs, but also it was the 1 terabyte. And I'm like, why would they put out a refresh like 6 months to a year after they put out this one? Right.
Right. That doesn't make any sense to me personally. But it does make sense that they're probably going to get rid of the 512 model pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. And just push the 1 terabyte. I mean, why not? You want to bring in more money. Among the other things that were interesting were we got a graph, Destiny related. We got a Destiny related graph, talking about the games by hours played and by most players on Xbox. And Destiny was in the top 20, and it was for 2015 through 2019.
Wasn't it number 9?
It was. I don't remember how high it was, but the average amount of time spent in Destiny was like 250 hours or something.
Yeah.
It was a wild chart. I don't have it saved to my computer. I might have screenshotted it to my phone, but it was like Fortnite was up there, PUBG, just about like any online game you can think of was up there.
Yeah.
No, I do not have it on here. I have the Game Pass negotiations charts. I don't have the other stuff. But it's just what a wildly, it's one of the biggest leaks we've ever had. Certainly the biggest Xbox leak we've ever had. This is on par. Sony had a pretty big leak a few years back. There was that infamous Capcom one, the Nvidia GeForce leak, which we're still dining on that one.
Yeah,
we're still dining. Every event, it's like, oh, take a shot. Something else from the leak got confirmed, and that was, God, 2 years ago at this point.
Yep.
I remember being on vacation. It was my last day of vacation when that leaked. And my buddy Ray and I sitting there on a bus at Disney World trying to sort through shit as it was coming out. And our significant others just being like, guys, can we put the phones up for 1 day of this trip? Can we put the phones down for 1 day? We had like a PlayStation Presents during that time that we were watching in the rain. And just crazy times. But it cannot be overestimated like how big this was. I mean, we got an entire roadmap of Bethesda titles that include the Oblivion remaster we talked about on Xbox Casuals a few episodes ago, a Fallout 3 remaster, which has long been rumored,
Doom Year Zero,
Doom Year Zero,
That's interesting.
Dishonored 3.
Yeah.
Two unnamed projects.
One
Which
licensed IP that they haven't announced.
The licensed IP, I pretty staunchly believe, is supposed to be the Mandalorian MMO that we've heard whispers and rumors about for a few years. There's two rumored games that Bethesda was working on that were licensed IPs. One was a Star Wars game. One was a Marvel game that was supposedly in production at Roundhouse Studios last year.
Yeah.
So either one of those would make sense. Personally, I'd rather see what they do with a Marvel game than another MMO.
Yeah. Man, a Mandalorian MMO, like, I don't know, man.
It would go hard. It's just I don't know how many people want to play an MMO in Star Wars without lightsabers.
Yeah.
That's the whole, and like, what are you gonna do? Let everybody run around with a dark saber? That's not how this works.
Yeah.
Like that's just, and I mean, like, they could come out with some sort of like snarky response and be like, well, you know, we have an MMO like that. It's called the Old Republic.
Yeah.
But I don't think they would do that. I am one of a handful of people who truly would love a Mandalorian MMO.
Yeah.
And would play just a ton of hours in it, because I'm not as big on like the Force side of everything in Star Wars. I always liked the bounty hunters and like the smugglers. So something like Outlaws is kind of up my alley.
Yeah. Outlaws looks
amazing. There's a lot of stuff in this leak though. One of the projects, Project Platinum, I think, is one of them. It supposedly has an expansion plan for it already. That one's the one that a lot of us are pegging as probably the JRPG that's in development at Tango.
Yeah.
But that, or it's a new MMO. Those are the only two explanations. It should be stressed, this was a roadmap from fiscal year 2020. So 2020 going into 2021. And I mean, for example, they had Indiana Jones pegged as a release for this year. So
yeah, that document also, like, if you dive deeper down into it, that also says the Indiana Jones, if it's successful, is going to be a trilogy.
Yeah, which also, probably the most curious thing, no mention of Wolfenstein 3 at all.
I know.
But if the trade-off is I get Indiana Jones, I mean, we're still in the 40s shooting Nazis, so yeah, I'm okay with it. If Indy does turn into a trilogy, I'd be really fascinated to see how that gets told.
Yeah. You think it would just be like Uncharted, where like, yeah, technically they are telling a story in order, but like it's just random. You can play any of them in order and still get it, except for 4, essentially.
Probably. Yeah. Probably. Because I mean, I feel like it's pretty clear that this is going to be like a separate indie from the ones in the movies.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the games usually happen. Emperor's 2 is great. Yeah. That's the Xbox one, right? Emperor's 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, just bonker stuff in here. Does confirm that they looked to acquire Bungie at one point, which, you know, we already knew, but we knew that from the FTC documents from July. We knew that one already. Fascinating, absolutely fascinating. I encourage you, if you decide to read some of these emails, read critically.
Yes,
please just read.
Yeah, just don't read the screenshots. Read, like, go find because a lot of these threads are on Reddit, and I know
a lot of things have been taken out of context.
Yeah, Digital Foundry
headlines.
Digital Foundry did a great video. I know Destin Legary did 2 videos on this. Like, there's a lot out there.
There's been some really good reporting on it from The Verge has had really good. Rebecca Valentine over at IGN did some really good work too. There's nobody when it comes to like industry, like legal news and numbers, that I trust more than her, or gamesindustry.biz. That's where she got her start at. But just really presenting like an unbiased look, even if and she owned up to it, like there was a graph that was misread in it, and they corrected it. But of course, you know, it had already circulated in social media, so everybody freaked out about it. But some interesting like peeks behind the curtain of how things are selling. Because Microsoft does not release those numbers anymore, how much they're spending on certain things. Like it's absolutely fascinating for anybody who wants to know like more about the business side of the industry. Yeah. This was a fascinating look. And if you're just here for like new hardware or like games, like some of that came out too, but it should be stressed, like it is mostly hardware, emails, and a Bethesda roadmap.
Yeah.
That's the majority of what you got here. There is nothing about the other internal studios. There's nothing about Activision Blizzard. This is all from a couple years back. So a lot of Phil Spencer put out a statement saying that a lot of this has changed. To be real, pretty much everybody that I've talked to who like kind of knows what's going on has been like, you can't change that much.
Yeah, especially in 3 years, like that's set, right?
Well, the implication I got about the hardware stuff was that is the most recent stuff. That was from last summer, and they're like, that's not changing. That's like locked. That's gotta be locked in at this point.
I mean, hardware. You gotta think about supply chains, like how many are you gonna make for release, like all that stuff, right? I mean,
funny enough, the thing that's probably like changed the most, they said, are some of the Game Pass valuations. I mean, they valued Baldur's Gate 3 at like $5 million. Which I mean, that's funny to think about now because everybody could go, "Oh, I can't believe you got it that wrong." Like, Larian even had to come out and say, like, "Hey, they got it wrong. Everyone got it wrong. Not a single studio or anything thought that this was going to do it." They're like, we surpassed our own expectations within the first weekend. Yeah, we surpassed lifetime sales goals in the first weekend.
Yeah.
So
they shouldn't have made such a good game.
Pretty much. And it was like also like learning terminology. Like you'll see second run in there a lot. Second run does not mean like it's a second rate game. Second run means that's the second time it's coming out.
Yeah. That's
like a definitive edition, or it's coming to your platform for the first time after having been like a timed exclusive elsewhere. Yeah. Which, when it says Baldur's Gate is a second run game, it's because at the time it was scheduled to be only PC and Stadia. Stadia had the exclusivity. If Stadia doesn't go under, you're probably not getting this on PS5 and Xbox this year.
Yeah.
That's one of the crazy things to think about.
That's so hilarious that was a Stadia exclusive.
In the time that it got announced until it came out of early access, we had Stadia get announced and collapse. So it's kind of wild to think, like, it was kind of an underwhelming reveal trailer too when that happened. And then it really took like the next year when it went into early access for people to be like, oh, okay, we see what they're doing now. Like the little CG trailer we got sucked, but this is actually pretty cool. Yeah. So, hats off. Like one of the estimations I think was like to try and get like Jedi Survivor day and date on Game Pass. They estimated it would cost them like $300 million.
Jesus.
Well, and a lot of this, like you look at that, and a lot of this was like stuff that was projected for fiscal year 22 and into 23 because they didn't have those AAA games. Yeah, that was the most recent communication that we see in there. Was an email from Phil to the staff last year, right after the Starfield delay, basically saying like it's totally unacceptable that we have no major first party games this year. Yeah, that. We got to strike some Game Pass deals or something somewhere. I saw a little bit of speculation that maybe that's how the Atlas deal came together in the 9th hour. Yeah. Or the 11th hour, whatever the saying is. That maybe an Atlas deal came together and they were able to be like, well, these games are already going to be announced as coming out. Can we announce them coming to Game Pass too? Yeah. Can we pay you a premium amount to get one of the best JRPGs ever made on our console? And that seems to be a fruitful partnership too. If you go off of like TGS is happening right now, and a whole bunch of stuff got announced there. But yeah, we'll talk more in depth about all this stuff on Monday's Xbox Casuals. Yeah, this is so industry shaking.
Yeah, two more things real quick, Josh.
Yeah, hit me.
What do you think about that Series X refresh design?
I like that we're shifting away from refrigerators and into Amazon Echo knockoffs. Yeah. I actually do. Like, all jokes aside, I really like how sleek it looks.
I know. I think it looks awesome.
What I didn't like, I saw a lot of complaining about there not being a disk drive on there. And I'm like, well, first off, Microsoft's going to sell a detachable one. There's no way they're not going to. This is the exact same rumor we've heard about the PS5 refresh for next year, by the way. Yeah. Exact same rumor.
I mean, especially like they just install the game from the disk to your hard drive, right? And like you don't need an HDMI port or attach. That can be done by USB-C.
Yeah, the disc essentially works as like a license at this point. I was saying this to somebody the other day because there are a few people who, in the not necessarily like retro part of the industry, but like who skew more towards like PS2 and earlier. games
Mm-hmm.
in terms of preservation, and they're like, you'll never be able to convince me that Microsoft cares about preservation ever again. Sorry guys, I bought a copy of Halo 2 back in 2005 and I'm still playing it on my Series X.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it has been compatible on every single Xbox. I have a handful of original Xbox games and even more 360 games that I have carried through 3 or 4 console generations now.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
And the cool thing is that the console just like automatically remasters most of them.
well, it's that you can still buy them digitally. Like this isn't like the PS3 that when the PS3 digital store gets shut down, you're losing those games forever because they've never released anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Like Microsoft has come out and said, like, hey, we're actively trying to find solutions for the games that are not available anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Like whether that's limited edition physical releases or what. Like we're looking to see what we can do here.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the like Hasbro even say like, "Hey, we would love to have
War for
Transformers."
Cybertron.
Yeah,
Yeah.
gosh, those games, dude. Once those games come back, I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna be playing those.
Well, and so I think that's really rich, but also like at least in the U.S. market, we're skewing so digital these days.
Yeah,
I get that, especially in Europe, they are still very heavy physical consumers, and Nintendo fans especially are. And Nintendo fans have to be, right? Because you want to talk about a company that's really bad about game preservation. Nintendo's got to be the worst.
yeah.
They,
Although I would argue that this generation has been maybe one of the better ones for that.
it's been one of the better ones, but I also like don't count preservation as, oh, let's charge $50 to people for a game that came out 20 years ago. That's kind of disgusting.
Yeah,
I
but
really hate that Pikmin 1 and 2 together cost $70.
is it that much? I thought it was 50. Because
Even at 50, that's still pretty gross. Corey, I had
bucks
to
a piece though.
Corey, I had to hold my nose when Advance Wars was announced to be $50. 2 Game Boy games for $50. Had to hold my fucking nose here.
Yeah.
I love Advance Wars, and there was a limit to my love. Metroid Prime being 40 didn't sit well with me. Skyward Sword being 50 didn't sit well. My point remains, that does not count as game preservation. Game preservation would be allowing me to purchase these games digitally and keep them forever. You are Nintendo. We can do that with your games. The licensing is never going to run out here. It's not like you develop these with third parties.
Yeah.
Like
Popeye.
You've bought half the company. You bought half the companies that worked on your shit. What was your other point, Corey?
Oh, the most important announcement this week, Josh.
Hit me.
Bluey the video game is coming out.
I fucking hate you. I knew this was coming. I fucking knew this was coming. I hate you so much.
Oh man, this is a good one. All right, let's talk about Destiny.
Compounding to my problems is a Destiny problem. Some of you may or may not have been aware of Crafting Madness 2023 over the weekend.
Yeah.
Which still is not completely resolved at the time of this recording, by the way.
Yeah, they said have fun. Not usually something they say. I think the last time they said it was laser tag weekend.
when this happened on Friday, a bunch of us were planning to jump into trials and try to go get igneous hammers, or at least like it's Jav 4, so like we all know that map really well. And like I'll play enough to be there's going to be enough casuals in there that maybe I can rank up pretty quickly.
Yeah,
try and get some of that sweet trials loot, some of that armor. Yeah, I'm no longer scared of Telesto. I'm really scared of Amit.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Boy howdy. Boy howdy. Our friend Joasis got this glitch to work. And at one point, A1 Johnny and I were running Grandmaster Nightfalls with Joe. And he had an Amit. I forget what he had on the grenade launcher, but it was a Regnant, and it was just like an AC 130, man. But the Amit had both incandescent and volt shot on it with a slug-shotty frame. I watched the Shrieker in that GM just go boop. It just disappeared. The health just disappeared. It is one of the wildest things I have ever seen. I was not going to partake in this, and then it went on all weekend, because when we first started getting the reports Friday afternoon about this, everyone was like, LOL, Trials is busted. They're going to have to disable Trials for the weekend. We got like 2 or 3 hours in, and Bungie's not acknowledging it.
Yeah.
What is happening here? And then they came out and basically said, go crazy, have fun. We have to figure out what's happening here.
Yeah. I wonder if they just haven't figured it out yet.
I mean, so the second time my jaw hit the ground was when they came out and made another statement and said there was not going to be any server rollback. That was I was mentally preparing myself. I was telling everyone, I was like, I am not doing any raids this weekend, even with the busted weapons. We're going to hit a server rollback. I'm not doing this. And that sparked a whole argument in the community, which we can't talk about this weekend without talking about the people who were firmly entrenched on the let's have fun side, and the everybody exploiting this glitch should be banned from the game forever.
Right.
Which, I'm sorry, if Bungie told you it's okay, just honestly, like, I'm going to need you to bend over, get some help for this step if you need it, and remove the stick that is so far up your ass that it's coming out of your nose.
Jesus.
Okay? Because, listen, you don't have to partake in it. There's this great feature that you can do. Come here. I'm going to tell you how to do this. You get up, you hit the power button, you go outside, and you touch this thing that we say is grass.
It's the green stuff on the ground.
Well, in Texas, it's brown right now, and it's kind of crunchy.
Well,
but you go outside.
You live in a nightmare state.
You're damn right. My power grid may not be functioning. My grass is brown. My elected representatives are Greg Abbott and Ted Cruz. But you know what, Corey? I had a beer while I was grocery shopping the other day, and I've now declared that the freedom produce section. But it's just... I saw people be like, I'm leaving the Destiny community, blah, 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 I can't stand this. Bungie bans people for this. And it's like,
bye.
Okay. Oh, okay. It's like the gif of Michael Scott pushing the old man out of the room and closing the door in his face. Like, that's how I felt. It's like, okay. I have not used my mute and block list that liberally since Elon bought Twitter. That's the last time I did it, where I just went through and everybody with a blue check just block. I actually love it whenever I open up a Destiny post. It's just like, you have muted or blocked all of these accounts. It's like the first 10 replies.
Oh, man. By the way, did you see that Elon wants to charge for the app now?
Oh, God. Yeah, God. Oh, brother, this guy stinks! That's all I can think of every time that I see that man.
So everybody find a new social media platform.
I'll put it this way. It's never good when Walter Isaacson writes a biography about you. It almost never ends well for the subject.
Yeah.
You almost always look like an asshole.
Yikes.
And in this case, we already know it, so you're going to look even worse. But they go through all this and they say, hey, we're gonna fix it on Tuesday. Then they had to bump it. Mm-hmm. There's a new wrinkle that we get told about last night. Bungie has been getting DDoSed.
Yeah, I saw that.
Which they had to come out and publicly address, which is something that they said they have been hesitant to say in the past. And I even saw like senior engineers at Bungie being like, I'm so happy we said it this time. We've wanted to say it in the past, but we don't want to say it every time it happens. We don't want to give like attention to this, essentially.
I wonder how many times it has happened.
It makes me wonder now. It actually genuinely makes me wonder if that was part of the issue earlier in the year.
Yeah.
So I want to read exactly what they said about this. I'm going to the Bungie help Twitter, and I gotta find it because it was from yesterday. It was from 2 days ago. It was from the 19th. Over the past couple days, we've seen a spike in error codes and disconnects. The team has confirmed that these error codes are not related to the planned fixes rolling out for the recent crafting issue and are instead a result of DDoS attacks. While we typically don't confirm these types of attacks and do not plan to in the future for general game security reasons, we believe it's the right thing to do for our players to be communicated the added pressure to our systems given recent circumstances. We want to thank our players for their patience as our teams work swiftly to ensure the integrity of the game and continue to implement our roadmap for future stability improvements. So yeah, for them to come out and say that is pretty huge. Corey, for those at home who may be unaware, what is a DDoS attack?
It's essentially...
I'm letting you handle this one since you work in IT.
Well, I'm a marketer guy, but essentially,
whatever.
Basically, like DDoS is when people, usually angry people or people that don't have anything else better to do, use the internet to overload the servers of the company and overload it so much that like usually the servers go down, or there's the best case scenario is like everything's kind of laggy and you have a long connection time, but which kind of seems like what happened this week, although I know there was some outage in terms of
the game's been pretty unstable for about 48 hours now.
Yeah. But people can still connect to it for the most part. There have been there was one time this week that I connect, but
I finally gave up on doing the story on Tuesday and I was able to get through it yesterday.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you what happened though, because I still got DC'd twice.
Yeah. So but yeah, that's
direct denial of service.
Yeah. That is your tech lesson of the day, everybody. Write that down. There's a test next week.
Can we get like the more jingle in there? So that added a new fun wrinkle to this. As of today, they did get the fix rolled out. Master Crota is now available, etc. 2 hours ago, however, they post, we are still working on edge cases regarding the weapon crafting exploit. As a temporary measure, we have disabled the option to reshape enhanced raid adept weapons to avoid exploiting weapon rolls. This will be addressed in a future update. So, man.
Yeah. Yep.
It has been, it's been pretty wild. I've seen people say they're still getting kicked to orbit. I feel really, really bad for Bungie right now. This has been probably the most stressful week that anybody on the back end has ever had working on the game.
Yeah.
But I want to take us to the TWAB because man, they have a very, very big deep dive into this. I said when this was happening, I really wanted to see a deep dive into this, like a developer blog, because I think it's important for players to understand that this isn't just a turn it off and on again fix. Like, I'm actually really surprised they identified what it was and did it without shutting the game down, without taking it offline, without doing a server rollback or anything. It probably would have been way easier if they could have taken the game offline.
Yeah.
But they didn't, and they've already promised that this weekend is going to be Trials, Igneous Hammer, Jab 4 again. So, they're calling it the crafting. Which, by the way, like, just what a great weekend to be like in the lore of Destiny, the video game. Like, it's one of those true you had to be there moments. It's like the 12-man raids or laser tag weekend.
Man, 12-man raids were so fun.
You just had to be there.
Oh my gosh, that was so fun.
12-man strikes.
Yeah.
12-man Nightfalls was one of the wildest things I've seen. But I remember Bife doing a video of like he got everybody in his instance of Fallen Saber to jump on top of a catch, and it just sank into the ground. That was pretty funny to watch. They all died. It was really funny.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. We saw a lot of players ask, why not just do ? And we thought this might be a good opportunity to show why issues like this aren't as simple as they seem. To continue to transparency, we got folks from various departments that worked on this issue to give a peek behind the curtain. A previous bug allowed stale data from other crafting recipes to bleed over, which allowed crafty players to move traits from one recipe to another. We learned about this problem on Friday and worked over the weekend on both a short-term content fix and a longer-term code fix. At Bungie, we say teams are stronger than heroes, and that was exemplified in this weekend's work. Engineering, design, test, and leadership were all involved every step of the way. For the short-term fix, we issued a live update process, or LUP, which we can use to modify content in the live game. Content and code are two different things, and the bug itself was in code. While we worked on both solutions in parallel, we prioritized possible content-only solutions that would fix enough of the issues to give us more time to work on the code situation. LUPs also have other limits. They have limits on the amount of content that can be changed. They only allow us to modify existing content and do not allow us to add new content objects as part of the fix, i.e., we can update existing text in an Excel sheet but cannot add new rows. They only support changes that affect the UI in very specific ways, and only a single LUP can be active at once, and we have to include all new and previous LUP changes as a whole. Due to limitation number one, we knew we needed to constrain the size of the LUP, but the scope of the problem was vast. All crafted perks were potential problems, as well as every crafted weapon. We obviously could not disable every weapon in the game, so we decided on two options. Disable crafted or enhanced weapons. Disable perks from being active on crafted or enhanced weapons. I'm actually really shocked that they didn't go with disable crafted and enhanced weapons altogether.
Mm-hmm.
As a personal aside, I was pretty sure that was going to happen. They went with just disabling certain perks.
Yeah.
They were able to identify that. So shouts there. After a number of false starts, we landed on a working set of logic that incorporated both options and began to evaluate them in a test environment before pushing them to the live game. We quickly ran into issues. Weapons that were equipped appeared to be disabled in the UI, but some behaviors of the weapons were still active. We didn't have time to test whether leaving those behaviors active was safe or not. There's an unequipped functionality that exists for items which we attempted to use, but discovered it simply did not work. Fixing this would require a code change, which LUPs do not support. With disabling equipping weapons not being a viable path, we began investigating the second option, disabling the perks, which is where we ended up at. So I'll let you guys read all of that. I'm not going to read it in excruciating detail.
Read it all, Josh.
I'm not reading it all. I will die if I sit here and read all of this, and our audience will fall asleep. I'm pretty sure. This is one of those instances where, like, please follow along with us and read the context of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
The limiting perk disabling LUP went fairly quickly. We had already had the gating logic and we're editing a much smaller scope of content. This LUP was successful and we were prepared to deploy this fix to the live game Sunday. It was an option to kick players from the game when we applied the fix. We chose not to. While the deployment succeeded without major issues, we found weapons that players already had equipped still had their perks active in certain scenarios. We did not experience that in our internal testing. We then did a rolling restart to get players out of this state, and we considered the LUP was effective enough to let us concentrate on continuing to help the team working on the code fix. The code fix was broken down into 4 major parts. Stop the exploits so new weapons cannot enter the system. Determine how to sieve through all the crafted weapons our players have made and separate the affected weapons from the rest. Determine a good state to move irregularly crafted weapons to so that player is left with a valid crafted weapon. Find ways to validate these fix-ups made sense on the many combinations of weapons that are out there, and we didn't erroneously modify other weapons. As we investigated the issue, members would join a work chat and provide us with reliable reproduction steps and more insights on the scope of the issue. As some focused on the fix, others started to develop our test plan and test cases for validation and developing backup plans. We ran it through many testing scenarios and searched our library of weapons for edge cases to put our fix through. The team would chime in with a scenario, and we'd go through and make sure we handled it appropriately. Our fix would grow and shrink in complexity as we fine-tuned the sieve that we sifted every weapon through. After we had the fix in a good state, we needed to thoroughly test it using weapons copied from tens of thousands of accounts. On top of that, we needed a way for our team to catch cases where the result did not look correct. We did a significant amount of manual testing, but also leaned on recent updates to our automation tools to drive reports of all the fix-ups we made to weapons and generate summary tables our experts could comb through. That is just absolutely wild.
Yeah.
It is wild that they built it that quickly and got it deployed, even if it had to be delayed by 2 days. I saw there were some people being like, "LOL, Bungie missed their own update time," and it's like, shut the fuck up, you nerd. You fucking nerds. Like, okay, yeah, I'm sorry that the game studio that's calling people in on the weekend around the clock didn't get it fixed for your trials weekend. I'm so sorry.
Right.
Sorry to like the 15 of you this affects.
Yeah.
But it does seem like it's in a better place. There are still some edge cases as we read. So man, what a legendary week in the Destiny books, and not for reasons that we might have thought.
Yeah, man, this was
this is the kind of stuff that goes down in the lore of the game.
Yeah.
So
this is yeah, man. What a week, man. What a
What a fucking week, man. This has been it's been absolutely wild week watching all of this unfold.
yeah.
So if you enjoyed Crafting Madness, I'm glad that you did. I saw some people enjoying it. We went in and definitely did a run of Crota with bugged weapons, and it was really fun. Even if Joe was the only one with it, because he was the only one who could tank his frames enough to do it.
Yeah.
It was really cool. It was still really cool seeing it in action. We did a Crota checkpoint, and I think Joe cleared it with 10 million damage.
Jeez, what?
I don't remember if that was that. It was either on Crota or it was on Nezarec. It was one. I want to say it was Nez, actually, now that I think about it. We one phased Nezarec, and we looked at the damage afterwards. He had 10 million. I had 4 million. Everyone else was at like 1 or 2.
Yeah.
It was absolutely hilarious watching that unfold.
Man.
But yeah, and he was just like holding down Amit. that's what he was using.
That's nuts, man.
It was great. There's a whole long deal in here about recoil. I'll read a little bit of this. I confess I have not had a chance to read the whole thing here. But the long and the short of it is, starting in Season 22, all the following weapons with a Season 22 or later watermark will have what we're calling deterministic recoil set up for them. Autos, pulses, scouts, SMGs, sidearms, hand cannons, trace rifles, machine guns. This includes all full auto weapons as well as burst fire and semi-automatic primary ammo weapons. These weapons will recoil in a predictable way with sustained fire, allowing players to learn the patterns and compensate for them. You've seen similar systems in other games, but our implementation is quite different because we release so many weapons a season and drive their gameplay via stats. Importantly, in this case, recoil direction and stability. The goal of the system is to make each weapon feel unique with a recoil pattern that can be learned to a degree. This will enable players to truly master weapons in a way that wasn't possible with standard Destiny 2 recoil, which has a fair amount of randomness in it. Note that the pattern of the updated recoil is very similar each time, but not exactly the same. Here's how it works. A weapon is set up with few possible recoil patterns. The weapon will always start with the first pattern. Most of the time, it will run through this recoil pattern until you stop firing for long enough to let the recoil and accuracy reset completely. Occasionally, somewhere in the first half of the magazine, it will switch to another pattern. Each bullet fired has a small amount of randomness due to the accuracy cone, placing the bullet somewhere in a radius around the target point. The entire pattern shifts left and right depending on the weapon's recoil, with higher recoil direction having smaller horizontal spacing. But even as the directional stat changes, the pattern will still be recognizable. So there's a little Q&A here with Chris Proctor to go into why certain weapons aren't getting it. Does that only reset on a full magazine? What happens if I keep refilling my magazine while firing? Security implementations, etc., etc. So this is basically the recoil is going to work a lot more like a game like Call of Duty, for example.
Yeah.
Than the way that we've had it going forward. I think like most players aren't going to notice a huge change, frankly.
Yeah.
I think it's the players who, are playing a lot of trials or who play the game every single day are going to feel the changes, but it should feel pretty natural pretty quickly. And it's important to note, it is only for weapons from this season forward. So anything from before this season is still going to have how recoil has traditionally worked. Mm-hmm. At least for now. It doesn't feel. I don't think that they're looking to change those up just yet.
Yeah, I wonder if that'll come eventually.
I would think so, because I don't think they want us to have to recraft those again in some cases. Right. It would be like the 5th time that we've gotten Ikelos SMG in this game.
Yeah.
I can't imagine them having you do that again. But I think it'll be similar to how auto fire or full auto worked. Full auto is now just a selectable thing on any gun.
Yeah.
So I got to think that that's a thing. But there's a little demo video here for you guys to check out. What's a controversial Halloween candy in Destiny 2? Candy Thorn. Candy Thorn. Thorn is finally getting a catalyst. It's getting a catalyst next season. I want to read this real quick because this thing's about to be an absolute menace in the Crucible again.
Yeah.
Grants bonus range and stability, dealing a final blow or absorbing a remnant. Grants additional increased weapon range as well as increased mobility and handling for a short time. This is about to be the favorite weapon of PvP hand cannon users everywhere, and I don't blame them.
Yeah.
This sounds absolutely disgusting. Johnny is jumping for joy. He very excitedly messaged the group chat about this as soon as it got announced. That's how I knew there was a TWAB out, is that John was freaking out over the Thorn Catalyst.
Shocker. Oh man, Johnny.
Thorn Main, A1 Johnny.
Wow.
And then today we got a couple new little trailers for the final shape. We got some teases. I expected we would get these eventually, but to get them in September is a little weird.
Yeah.
I thought this would be something we would get like closer to Christmas, maybe.
Yeah.
But it's focuses on the 3 new supers and some of the new aspects. I will confess, I only got to watch the Warlock one in full, and I got to watch some of the super usage on the Titan. I have not watched the Hunter one yet. These look pretty cool though. I'm gonna say it. I'm really underwhelmed by the Warlock super. It doesn't look nearly as cool as I thought it was going to.
Yeah.
Maybe that's because there weren't like a whole lot of enemies around, but it didn't feel like as cool as I thought the power fantasy would be. I've seen some criticisms about the Titan Axe being like, oh, it doesn't take nearly enough damage out of the boss. The boss they're fighting is Ekthar from Ghost of the Deep, who is a massive bullet sponge and has like 20 million health.
Yeah.
And it took out like a sixth of its bar.
Yeah.
Like, dude, that's actually a lot when you take into account the damage you're going to do with your other weapons and abilities and that your team is going to do. Like, that's actually not horrible.
Yeah.
Like, it's fun. I saw people going like, oh, we're going to have to buff it. It's going to have to be buffed before it even comes out. And like others joking like, no, we got to do a syntheseps test with it. I haven't watched I'm not excited for the Hunter one, honestly.
I think the Titan one looks awesome.
Oh, I think that the Titan one and the Warlock one both look really cool. Just the Warlock one's really underwhelming.
Yeah.
The Titan one definitely looks awesome. I can't wait. I'm gonna sit down and watch these videos tonight. So we can talk about them a little bit next week. I saw the first one and then got distracted with life today, unfortunately.
Yeah. the Titan one looks cool in this video because they're using it against normal enemies and like one mini boss.
Yeah, they're using it against Ekthar. Actually, I'm trying to watch it on mute right now. Okay. Oh,
I love the new shield too, like the new like.
Yeah, God, picking up the axe and running around just looks like it's gonna be so fun.
Yeah, I love the like Reinhardt shield that the Titan carries now. The Overwatch.
Yeah, I just saw the shield. That is really cool. I think that allows like our friend John has run Banner Shield a lot in the past for the extra damage. Like that is just a really cool thing to have as an aspect now.
Yeah.
I really like seeing that, and then God, that super just continues to look awesome.
Yeah, I love that you get to keep the axe after your super goes away. So cool, man.
Oh yeah, I'm a big fan. I think that actually does a really silly amount of damage. It's saying it's only popping up as 22,000 damage, but that's with 3 people just beating the shit out of the boss with it.
Yeah.
And clearly like in a weakened state, like okay. And like that's on like a bullet sponge boss. Like imagine a boss that doesn't have that much health, like how much damage you're gonna do.
Yeah.
Imagine taking that up against like in Nezarak or Atheon or Rolk or someone like that. Like maybe not Rolk, but I'm trying to watch the Hunter one real fast so I actually know what I'm fucking talking about here. It looks fine, I guess. I'm not here for another Blink style super.
Yeah.
Ascension looks really cool. The new arc aspect for them. That does look pretty dope. I want to see how that works exactly again. Yeah. Okay, so like I already do the sliding melee, and then you have like a little twirling tornado on the end. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. There's a warning just popped up on Bungie.net that
Oh
says
God.
Destiny 2 will receive an update today. Players will be required to log into Destiny 2 again after the install is complete.
That's got to be related to the ongoing issue then that we talked about at the top of the show.
Yeah.
Okay, this super actually looks really powerful. They're killing the yellow bar knights in one hit
Yeah.
with it. Okay, that could be kind of cool.
You know what? You know what this is though. You got to use it. You got to play with it yourself. You know.
Yeah, and I mean, again, like we're 6 months out from this coming out, so like I don't want to issue too many judgments right now on like, oh, this looks awesome or oh, this looks terrible. Like, it's cool. Like the concept, I think, behind all three is really cool. I guess I just don't really like the execution, and part of that's because we haven't had new light supers since Forsaken.
Yeah.
Gathering Storm is completely different, but we already knew how Gathering Storm worked from the things that we picked up in the PsyOps Battlegrounds.
Yeah.
From the spears that we picked up there. We already knew basically how it was going to work. I still maintain the Gathering Storm probably would have been the one here for hunters, and it likewise we probably would have been like, this is cool, but it's really underwhelming.
Yeah.
But I'll gladly take the trade-off that we got of getting that a year early.
Mm-hmm.
Year and a half early, really, because it's been a best in class super for the last year now.
Yeah.
So I've been really enjoying it though. I'm really glad that we're getting to see more light powers, and I do wonder if we're going to get more than just these couple of aspects. I'd be a little surprised if we didn't, honestly. I guess my other question that this comes down to is, are these the only three that we're going to get? Like, really? You're not going to give us stuff for the other classes? Like,
I
I get
wonder.
that a lot of the classes feel like they're in a good place, but I think that Warlocks could use a little something something on the Arc side of things,
Yeah. I mean, I
on both
wonder.
Arc and Void.
I wonder if they will come during the episodes or something like that.
I mean, it's certainly possible.
Maybe not that first one, but maybe like the second and third one.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't rule it out. I would actually really like that, or like maybe more unlock once the raid is completed for the first time.
Yeah, and then maybe you have to go like unlock them the way you used to in Destiny 1, right?
That would be really cool. I would really enjoy that. I think those little missions added just enough flavor to me. So I'd like to see something like that. I do think that, you know, when I'm looking at like how hunters work, though, it's fine. I'm sitting here talking all this shit, and it's like, well, hunters are like in a really good place across the board right now. So like, even if this is an underwhelming super, it's like, cool. I've got all three, like every single element is good for me right now. Like I said, Warlocks, I feel really could use something on the. I mean, they could use something for all three, really, honestly, in terms of like an offensive super. I think,
Yeah,
an offensive or like even like not like a one-off. They've got a pretty healthy mix, I think, of like one-off and roaming supers. Titans, we've long said that they needed something on Void that wasn't just Shield.
yeah.
And I think like Arc, you're in a pretty good place in Arc right now, and Solar is in a really great place.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess like the more I look at it, it's like, okay, like they probably planned to do the Arc stuff for hunters, and then they were like, oh, we need to do Gathering Storm. Like they need something now. That's just crazy that there's going to be effectively, well, I guess now that brings us up to 3 supers that you can use over there. Since Gathering Storm really just replaced one of the pole dancers. I don't know, man. I'm curious to see if there's going to be anything else. We're getting a new aspect for each of those, but like you're only going to give us an aspect for those 3.
Yeah.
Like I feel like you're gonna, at the very least, I feel like we need aspects for the other ones as well. And also, where is the stasis love? We haven't had an update to stasis since it came out.
The update is that you're going to be able to buy the aspects now.
Oh my god! I would really. Like I sit here and I'm talking all this shit about like wanting more for these elements. I really would like a new suite of stasis supers.
Yeah.
So like maybe you do maybe you do those seasons like we talked about with the episodes. Maybe the first 2 episodes give you the remaining light powers, and then one gives you stasis powers.
Yeah.
As well, I would maybe specifically the Scorn one, for example. I think that would be really, really cool to do because we've needed more powers over there on that side for a while. It's been kind of neglected since before the Witch Queen came out. And now with Strand, like, I don't want to see any new Strand powers for a little while. Maybe once we get to whatever the next expansion is after the final shape, maybe then we can start talking about more Strand abilities.
Yeah.
But they're still giving us Strand updates now.
Yeah.
We're still unlocking the full like suite of powers there.
Yeah.
This is probably the last season where we're getting stuff, but the point remains. We've gotten stuff consistently throughout the year for Strand. I think they learned from Stasis.
Yeah. I mean, if it's anything like, you know, Stasis, it'll be like 2 or 3 years until we get something for Strand.
It'll be what? I'm sorry?
2 or 3 years to get something for Strand.
Yeah. No kidding. I really hope it's not like that. They've already said the artifact mods next season are going to skew towards Stasis, which is really cool. I think, you're coming to the end of the Light and Dark saga. We really should be getting like a best of in terms of our mods.
Yeah.
Which means I better have fucking volatile rounds on that LMG for the fight against the Witness. Yeah, but I mean, I really like overall what we're getting here. I think most of this is really cool. Other things here, there's a dive into the mocap production for the season, which is really, really cool. Specifically talking about Morla, who plays Eris, Ikora's body double, and Brendan O'Neill, who not only plays Crow, he is also doing Amaru.
Ooh.
For the mocap. So yeah.
He for the mocap?
Yep. Amaru on a stick.
That makes sense. Okay. I was like,
that's actually really fun.
That work?
He actually does a lot of the mocap for them from what I understand.
Yeah.
He's like basically permanently hired by them to do mocap.
Yeah.
But it's a really, really cool breakdown. Encourage everybody to go read it. So definitely check that out. There is a new Prime bundle coming out. We're about to have a Prime bundle, and guess what? I actually really love this bundle. The Consult the Archives exotic emote is in there, as well as the Methane Explorer legendary shader, which has been in the API and we have not gotten yet. It's technically was supposed to be out last season. So excited to grab those. Definitely want that Consult the Archives. I have the one where you sit in the chair with the pipe and you have the book out.
Yeah.
I have that one. Consulting the Deep Lore. I had to get that one. As the lore master, I had to get it.
Yeah.
Had to go buy it. Looking to see if there's anything else that we need to talk about here. Igneous Hammer and Jab 4 return. If you're listening to this, it's probably live. Master Crota Zen Delay is live. They're still working on giving out those 48-hour challenge mode emblems. Man, I think that's gonna be about it for us.
Neat. I like the ship too. I don't have that ship. I've been rocking the Black Armory ship for so long.
I have had one on from the festival or from the solstice before Beyond Light for like 5 years now. Yeah. I every time I go to change it, I'm like, man, I'm just reminded how much I love this ship. It's like it's cracked with all the light bursting out of it.
Yeah.
And I really like that whole look that they did that season. So still really digging it. Well, Corey, do we want to move on to some questions tonight?
Yeah, because we have it says 21, but I'm sure it's more like 15 or 16. But
yeah, there was some discussion happening in there.
Yeah. Stop the discussion. You're scaring me about how long questions are going to take.
Yeah, I saw all the notifications and I was like, oh god.
I don't care if they're questions, but leave the discussion to the other channels.
Knox writes in and asks, I don't know if this has been mentioned, but what is your favorite Baldur's Gate 3 companion? We have not played Baldur's Gate.
The bear.
I hate you. Okay. We have not played Baldur's Gate 3 here at Tower Casuals yet. Primarily because neither one of us had a system capable of running it until it came to PS5.
Yeah.
And it came out at the worst possible time while we were frantically trying to finish Starfield for review.
Yeah.
And now, unfortunately, I still don't have time to get to it because now my attention shifts to Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty for review.
Yeah. And I'm Josh, you're gonna be proud of me.
Am I going to be proud of you?
Yeah. I'm getting ready to play Alan Wake Remastered.
I am, in fact, proud of you. I love Alan Wake. I only want to think about October. Like, the soonest I will statistically get to Baldur's Gate 3 is probably like the first week of December, in all honesty. Just because there are other things that I need to play
And we'll be
for
on
review
break.
purposes, but also like to not get spoiled.
Yeah.
Namely Spider-Man 2. So I'm very, very concerned about getting spoiled on Spider-Man 2.
You'll be proud of me too, Josh. I just downloaded Spider-Man Remastered.
I am proud of you. I love Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man. Miles Morales was so good.
Yeah.
God, Miles Morales was such a good game. It was the perfect launch title.
Yeah. I'm going to give it another shot.
It's great. It's great. You should play it. I mean, Spider-Man is arguably the best superhero game ever made. So,
X-Men Origins Wolverine begs to differ. That's fine.
No.
I'm just kidding.
No. It was my favorite superhero game since the days of like Ultimate Alliance. The Arkham games never really hit for me.
Yeah, I only really liked the first one, to be honest.
Yeah, I didn't really care for any of the trilogy. They're not bad games; they just weren't for me.
Yeah.
But Ultimate Alliance was my jam.
Yeah.
I liked Ultimate Alliance. I loved Hulk Ultimate Destruction. The X-Men Origins Wolverine game was good. X-Men Legends was awesome.
X-Men Legends was.
We had a really good time period of like 6 years when I was a kid that were really good for superhero games.
Yeah. I also really like Guardians of the Galaxy. I know you have mixed feelings on it, but I
have very mixed feelings to the point where I didn't finish it.
Yeah.
I think it's fine. I think some things are done better than the movies.
Yeah.
For sure. It definitely has more of the comic feel to it. I just think that most of the characters in that game are just so utterly unlikable.
Yeah. You like Star-Lord's voice acting the best, though, don't you?
I do. I love Scott Porter. Scott Porter's that's my dude.
Yeah.
That's my guy. Good old Jason Street from Friday Night Lights.
Yep.
I love him. Man. He tweets about HeroClix. I love it. Dude is filthy rich and a millionaire and tweets about how shitty the Denver Broncos and Nebraska football are and how much he plays HeroClix for charity. I love it. I absolutely love it. Knox also asks, he goes, it's confirmed in the showcase that Red Death, my beloved, Exotic Kostov, and Dragon's Breath are returning to Destiny in the final shape. Do you think any of these weapons will be changed like Red Death probably will? What would be the new exotic you think would be cool on that weapon if so? I'm going to be completely honest. I don't remember the functionality of Red Death.
I don't either, but I remember I used it a lot. But I don't remember what it did at all.
So I'm doing a very, very quick Google search. Please forgive me, everybody, for looking this up in real time.
Yeah.
That's what I get for I did not peep the questions for once.
I'll ramble a little bit. I forget like everything instantly when I switch weapons. So.
Okay, so Red Death. Oh yeah, Red Death is definitely going to have to be fixed.
What are the perks? What are the what's the exotic?
It was very powerful, but I don't know what the exotic perk specifically is. But it restores health and increases reload speed for a short time after every kill.
Ooh.
Boy. Yeah, Red Death is going to have to be totally reworked.
No, keep it.
Keep it. I cannot in any way, shape, or form imagine that this is going to actually be able to come over as it is.
Yeah. I would say the one that's least likely to change is Kvastov because it's so customizable already. Although it might be the one that gets changed the most, and you'll have to craft your Kvastov.
So Kvastov is absolutely going to be craftable. I expect us to get that at the end of the campaign.
Yeah.
I would say with Red Death specifically, that I think that's what the question specifically referring to is Red Death. I would say that you probably won't get health, but maybe you get an overshield. Maybe kills give you a slight overshield or something.
Yeah, I could see that.
And like maybe you get stacks, and that's how much like overshield you get. Like maybe it's like in increments of like fifths or sixths or something.
Yeah.
And like those bars last you for like 2 or 3 seconds or something. I don't know. Like you're gonna have to have some sort of timer on it. Not really sure how it's going to work, but that would be my proposal: is that you get an overshield instead of getting health back.
Yeah, I think the way that Destiny 2 works, that's fair.
I think so too. Um, Link Chef goes, we talk about raids a lot in our raid ranking list, but if we ranked all the different dungeons yet, I did respond to this one in the thread. This is this go figure. This is the one question that I read. We did do a raid ranking on our Ghost of the Deep spoiler cast. Sammy and I sat down and ranked the raids. Yep, the dungeon, whatever. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. We ranked the dungeons on the Ghost of the Deep spoiler cast. I think the consensus we came out to was that Ghost was number one. We had Prophecy at, I think, number 2. And then I think number 3 was either Spire or Duality. Duality is just so fucking buggy. I can't put it any higher.
That's man, dude. It's still buggy, man.
Jiggly Panda 2 asks, did either of you partake in the greatest glitch of all time in Destiny this past weekend? And did you guys have fun?
Well, Josh clearly had fun.
I clearly had a lot of fun. It was a fucking blast.
Yeah, I didn't because we were busy. It was Rosh Hashanah, which is the Jewish New Year, and my wife's family is Jewish, so we were doing that and play and doing stuff with the kids, and I tried to spend some time with my wife this weekend instead of play games, which was
how dare you?
I know.
How dare you?
I know, dude. Saturday night, as soon as like my wife was ready to go to bed, I went to bed too, man. I was ready. I went to bed at like 10:30.
Solidarity. I went to bed really early over the weekend. I think I went to bed at like 11. It was like, oh my god, this is amazing.
Yeah,
I need to do this more often.
Yeah,
a lot of fun. It was a great weekend. I mainly logged in and did some stuff to make sure that if they give out an emblem, that I get the emblem.
Yeah,
because I'm not missing out on an emblem like I did laser tag weekend.
Yeah.
I was not playing Destiny at the time, and that forever is seared into my brain as missing a really cool emblem 2 years after the fact.
Yeah.
That they went back and but they've done it for they did it for Lord of Wolves week also.
Yeah.
So I really, really hope that we get something to acknowledge this. I'd love like the crafting table maybe like broken in half or something would be really funny. Or just like it's just like a giant omelet.
Yeah.
There's some funny things you could do there. And also, what is you guys' thoughts on the NFL
I don't
season
want to talk about it right now.
Anything that has shocked you guys? Yeah, this is a really sore subject for Corey. In fairness, this was submitted on. No, this was submitted after the Nick Chubb injury.
Oh my gosh, So I mean, I think the Aaron Rodgers thing is hilarious after 4. I mean, obviously, it sucks to get injured like that, but 4 plays.
Sucks, but it was so fucking funny
that
the highlight of it was him running out with the American flag because it was 9/11.
I know.
And then 4 plays in.
Yeah. And then like, man, like it's just funny because the whole drama surrounding the Jets trying to get him, and then the Packers were going to do it, and then the Jets had to do it. Like the Jets did it, and like then they did Hard Knocks this season. Was all about.
Oh my god! Every time I log into HBO, it's just like Aaron Rodgers is injured. See, get a peek at how Zach Wilson is going to step up to the plate. And I'm like, oh boy.
Yeah, and then
Zach
boy Wilson against Dallas, and it was just a sad time.
It was a catastrophe. Do we think that if they keep trotting Zach Wilson out there, that they'll be in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes?
Oh god, maybe.
I'd be so upset. I would genuinely be. When we lost against the Rams, I was like, damn, maybe we're not as good at when the Seahawks lost against the Rams in week 1, which was not supposed to happen. Nobody had the Rams winning against us.
Yeah.
And we got our asses beat.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh man. Oh, yeah. If we tank bad enough this year, if enough people can get hurt or be lost for the season, maybe we can be in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes.
Yeah.
He's going to go to fucking Arizona. He's going to go to Arizona. And it makes me so mad to know I'm going to have to play against this little motherfucker for the next decade.
Arizona's practice or their starting quarterback was our practice squad quarterback for 2 years. The last
Josh
2
Dobbs.
Years. Yeah.
He put being a pilot on hold to come back to the NFL.
I know. It's cool. He's like a really cool dude, but
he actually seems really cool, but like he should not be playing professional football like at all.
Yeah. His whole thing is like he's really, really, really knowledgeable about the game. He's just not NFL quality.
So it's funny that's how like a lot of backup quarterbacks work. Like, look at how good Kellen Moore was in high school or in college, and it never translated to the NFL.
Yeah.
But he's like considered this great offensive coordinator now.
Yeah.
Like Josh McCown, he's been a backup for all these years, but like he's really on the sidelines, like helping coach. Gino kind of learned that way. Gino's going to make a phenomenal quarterback coach one day, by the way.
Yeah.
Gino Smith's going to be a fucking great quarterback coach.
Yeah.
I love that guy.
That
I would die for Geno Smith right now.
Yeah.
That's my reaction after week 2 of the NFL. I would die for Geno Smith. Also, like, what is going on with Joe Burrow?
I know, man. He's
playing hurt.
I know.
He's absolutely playing hurt. They should have just sat him.
Yeah. Well, their backup quarterback is terrible. He's terrible.
Well, I mean, they could have probably brought the Andy Dalton, the Red Rocket, back, but they chose not to.
Yeah.
Instead, he's in fucking Carolina, and he's probably going to beat the
weekend.
Seahawks. Yeah, I know. We're playing him, and we always lose to a backup quarterback every single season. Mm-hmm. Usually, it's the curse of Colt McCoy.
I would really like to have a decent backup quarterback right now.
That's why people were laughing. They were when Arizona cut Colt McCoy. Arizona fans were like, "No, we got to keep Colt so we can beat Seattle at least once."
Oh man, but man, the Browns, man, dude, their defense is awesome. The Browns defense is awesome.
The Browns are so disappointing.
They're not disappointing because you expect them to be bad every year. That's what it's like growing up a Browns fan. If they win, you're excited, right? It's like a nice surprise. It's like the birthday gift from the closet after everybody goes home, right? I mean,
it's like the birthday present your mom finds like 3 months later.
Yeah.
Or in my case, it was always a Christmas present my grandma would find in like the middle of April. Mm-hmm. So I'd like the Easter bunny would come but drop off a fucking Christmas present.
Yeah.
It's great.
But I don't know if you watched the Nick Chubb injury at all.
I did. I did.
So for people who don't know, Nick Chubb is the Browns running back and arguably our best player.
No, not arguably. He is.
Yeah. He's definitely our best offensive player. And he during the Monday night game against the Steelers, he planted his foot and a helmet went into his knee, and his knee literally, like no joke, literally bent the other way. And he tore all 4 ligaments and had a knee dislocation, which is almost the exact same injury he had in college. And they told him he wouldn't ever play football again after that injury. And now he has the same injury with all 4 ligaments torn. And
yeah, this is gonna be pretty hard.
Yeah. We did re-sign Kareem Hunt this week though, which he was.
Oh boy.
Yeah, which I mean. He runs hard. I'll give him that, but he hasn't really been the same player either since he left Kansas City. So
no. And at this point, it's fair to wonder like how much of that was Eric Bieniemy's offense.
Yeah.
Yeah. God.
And then Deshaun Watson was just trash. Sorry. And I'm not talking
I always forget that Deshaun Watson is on the Browns until Corey reminds me.
Yeah. And I'm not talking about his personal life either. I'm talking about his football play because we all know allegedly, quote unquote, about his personal life. So
I will say the absolute best moment I've ever seen from an NFL ref was this weekend in the Seattle-Detroit game, where the ref clearly tried to make it about himself when Gino was trying to get clarification about something. And he goes, "Hold on a second. I'm speaking to America right now." And it reads so much like a John Mulaney bit that I have to say it in his voice.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God. And it was the wrong fucking call on top of that.
Yeah. Did you see what NFL Network said about Deshaun Watson?
No.
The guy said the Browns need a refund.
Man, I've never seen Pete Carroll as mad as he was on the sidelines on Sunday. I actually thought that I was going to witness that man have a heart attack on the sideline.
Yeah.
He's going to die out there one day. I'm actually scared that Pete Carroll's going to die coaching a game.
I mean, he might.
Sam, Lord of Bananas, what is your go-to rating snack?
Oh, man. Dude, nope. Here it is, Josh. Here it is. I love eating.
I swear to God, if you say a fucking sandwich, Corey.
No, I don't. It's tortilla chips and either some queso or some salsa, or something like that.
Yeah, I can't do that because my cat will get up in there and I'll be like too invested in the raid to remember I have a snack over there. I like to munch on like I used to do salty snacks, mm-hmm. but that became a problem because I would down my beverage really fast. Mm-hmm. I'll have the occasional like handful of pretzels or something, or like Cheez-Its.
Mm-hmm.
I've tried to shift towards like healthier eating when I'm raiding, because I only eat like between breaks. Obviously, I'm not eating during encounters, so I got to make sure I've got like something to wipe my hands off with. But like I get myself like a small charcuterie board going.
Mm.
I get some cheese on there. I get some meats. I get some pepperoni. I get a little bit of turkey on there. I get some olives out.
Look at you being fancy.
Sometimes I'll get like some of those little peppers.
Man, that's a good
Oh, it's
nickname.
great.
The Fancy Raider. That's
The fancy raider. That's right, with my pinky out.
Yeah.
And then I'm just over here like downing a 6-pack of cheap ass beer.
Oh man, that's such a great design. Like you holding your weapon of choice with your pinky out while you're holding it, and it just says Fancy Raider on a shirt or something.
The fancy raider.
Yeah.
Give me a top hat and a monocle.
Yeah.
Titan Class writes in and goes, Bungie has been way more open with communication and responding to feedback this season. What do you think prompted this quick and sudden shift from last season? I don't know that anything really prompted a change. I think there's been enough stuff that's happened this season that they have to respond.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't let what happened over the last week go, which, by the way, this was a really good lesson in corporate communications and corporate PR, was how they handled the whole situation from Friday through tonight.
Yeah.
Because a lot of other studios that we know would not have handled it that well.
Yeah.
Absolutely not handled that well. For a moment, it made me forget that Damage was not a part of the team anymore. Like, that's how good the communication was.
Mm-hmm.
I think them being open is a really big deal. I almost hate that they said that it was a DDoS attack, though. And I'm going to tell you why. Because now, anytime that the servers are like, they're going to be, oh my God, are we getting DDoSed? Are we getting DDoSed? And they're going to be like, why isn't Bungie saying anything? Why is Bungie being so quiet? Because you need to shut the fuck up and let them work. That's why.
Yeah.
That's why. You Neanderthals. Like, sometimes you don't need an answer for everything. Like, sorry, sometimes the answer is literally just because they're working on it.
Yeah.
It is that simple. Game development is hard. I don't care who you are. Game development is hard. This shit is hard. This is a live service game with so many moving parts.
Yeah.
Like, just hats off to that whole communications team. I do think it's been a lot better. I have noticed, I feel like the community team has been a little bit better also this season.
Yeah.
I've noticed that as well. But I really think that just, setting the expectations of when they will and won't communicate and restricting things to being through the official accounts and not through their personal ones has helped a lot too. And I think that like this is kind of them extending the olive branch. Like, hey, we're going to start going back to the way we used to be if y'all can behave yourselves. But if you can't behave yourselves, then it's over. It's done with again.
Yeah.
And they're giving us a chance after the Joe Blackburn state of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So, Ronnie. Since we are ramping up on the Halloween event, favorite candy to get when you got home from trick-or-treating when you were a kid? Corey, what was your favorite candy as a trick-or-treater?
Oh man,
give me your favorite candy as a kid from trick-or-treating, and then what's your favorite thing to steal from your kids?
When I was trick-or-treating, let's see, I was a fan of Milky Ways.
Okay,
a good Milky Way. The candy I steal from my kids now are like anything like Starburst or Mike and Ike's or yep, or something like that. Man, Mike and Ike's, man, top tier for me.
Oh, I fucking love Mike and Ike's.
Oh, man,
Mike and Ike's hot tamales.
Did you know there's like an all grape box called, I forget what they're called, but
ew.
Yeah, man, they're good.
Ew.
I like grape candy.
Oh, I hate grape candy. Grape candy is the quickest way to get me to give something up. Man, I was never a big candy eater as a kid. I'm gonna be completely honest. I really liked coming home with Skittles, though.
Yeah, Skittles, man. Another top tier.
I always liked Skittles. Now I make sure that I buy the candy that I want to keep in the house, which, for me, I'm not a big chocolate lover. Like, I'll eat the occasional thing of, like, Reese's Pieces or, like, mini M&Ms. I'll eat them, like, 2 or 3 times a year. Usually it's around Christmas time when I get them because I get the candy canes with my Christmas sock. But I will buy the Starburst Flavor Reds, like, regularly, like, once a month. I'll pick up a bag of those, and I'll just It used to be more dangerous when I sat at a desk and worked all day in an office
Yeah.
because I'd just sit there and mindlessly like chew on them.
Yeah.
I don't do that as much at home. At home, I'm very much able to pace myself more. Also, because my cat wants everything.
Yeah.
So like, I just don't. I don't bust the candy out that much. If I buy a bag, it probably lasts me about 2 weeks now.
Yeah.
But I do like to jack that candy. My stepsister's not a huge fan of fruity candies like that. She loves chocolate though.
Yeah.
So
You ever eat that?
she's a little old for trick or treating now, but I'm always like, hey, get your mom to take you to the store and get me some Starburst the day after Halloween.
Do you ever eat the mini Starburst?
I do. They alternate between being good. So if I get the pack that's just the reds, they're usually pretty okay.
Mm-hmm.
If I get the normal ones, they taste like wax.
Mm.
They taste bad.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they really keep well. Like you pretty much got to eat them in one sitting, or you got to split them with somebody. I don't like candies like that I have to do that with.
Yeah.
Not a fan. The only thing like that I can do is mini M&Ms.
Hmm.
Tiger Jesus writes in and goes, do you see any new weapon frames or exotics inspired by the weapons glitch? Man, I personally don't see anything that you can get away with. I think that the designers at Bungie got infinite ideas though.
Yeah.
I actually really like the idea of an auto rifle doing both incandescent and volt shot off of it.
Oh god.
But I think a cooler effect would be similar to how we have not conditional finality. Is it? It's conditional finality. I getting confused on my exotics where you have both the solar and the stasis bullets go off.
Yeah.
I'd really like something where like you shoot bullets, but like every other bullet is changing its affinity.
Mm-hmm.
I think that could be really cool. I don't know what that would do in terms of like the UI. If it would like break it, it probably would.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that would be really cool, especially if you did it as a Cassioid frame. Like anything that comes out of this has to be a Cassioid, which is Point of the Stag, Telesto, etc. I think that could be a fun idea.
Yeah.
I don't really know what else because it's just like some of the things were just so wacky that we were seeing. If we saw like ARs shooting rockets,
Mm-hmm.
they weren't taking off; they were just falling in front of them. But like, okay, if we weren't already getting rocket pistols or rocket sidearms in the final shape, that probably would have inspired it.
Yeah.
I think maybe giving an exotic sword that has double eager edge could be something in the future, but that would just be a tool for skipping jumping puzzles, so that probably won't happen.
Yeah.
Those were some of the funniest encounters I saw, though, were people doing those.
Yeah.
I think ones that combine different elemental effects are probably the coolest. For me, I would actually really hope that we get some more where like you can change the element on a gun, similar to how we can do it with
Hard light.
Pardon me. Yeah, I had to burp there. Similar to how we can do it with hard light and with Borealis.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see some more guns like that, except maybe between like Stasis and Strand.
Yeah. I think it would be cool too. I mean, not that I don't enjoy a good auto rifle, but I would like to see that feature on other types of weapons, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's just like an easy thing to think of too. I think that's just like, that's cheap. I'd love a weapon that like, maybe it's a grenade launcher that shoots tangles.
I was gonna say a rocket launcher with stasis would be cool.
We have that.
A rocket launcher?
Chill clip, baby.
Oh, I forgot about chill clip. That's my fault, everybody. I forgot.
Chill clip. Yep. We have chill clip rockets.
Rewind what I said or ignore it. Either way.
Rewind what Corey said.
I'm not cutting it out. I just sound like an idiot. It's fine.
I'm not cutting it out. I sound like an idiot. Cade's Ace in the Hole asks, general software not fully understanding question, what is DDoS and what did Bungie mean by they were facing a DDoS attack? I thought it was great how transparent they were with what was happening since everyone was backseat dabbing on Twitter. Of course, we answered this earlier in the show. Yeah. We had our IT moment with Corey.
Yep. Maybe that's the new segment right before right before Lore Corner or this 12 or something.
Saint writes in and asks, do you think going flawless should give artifice armor? I don't remember if we've addressed this before. I've definitely talked about this recently with at least a couple of friends, if not outright here on the
I
show.
think we talked about it a couple weeks ago.
But I've had a little bit of time to think on it, and I do think that you should get Artifice Armor. I don't think it should be something that's farmable though out of trials. And let me explain my reasoning here. I think that the master dungeons are already farmable
Mm-hmm.
where Artifice Armor is available. Those are already farmable. Those are fine. You can go in and do those. You can just run one encounter over and over and over again.
Yeah.
I don't think that's particularly a difficult thing to do either, because it's like Grasp of Avarice,
So
Duality, and a few others.
I'm going to ask a dumb question, and
Ask me a dumb question, Corey.
I know the answer already, but I just want to make sure. Artifice Armor is essentially like the adept version of like the adept version of weapons, but armor.
I mean, kind of.
Yeah.
So Artifice Armor allows you to slot in an extra mod for stats.
Okay.
So you can get another slot, and it allows you to add +3 of any of like your mobility, your insight, your intellect, etc.
Okay.
Which makes it really valuable, especially on your class items and whatnot.
Yeah.
Now that nothing has elemental affinities, it's also significantly easier than ever before to use it. That was part of the hang up before, right? I personally think that high-end activities should reward this. I've long said that I think Master Raids should reward this.
Yeah.
I think you can extend that to Grandmasters and to Trials as well, but maybe you don't hand out as much in those two. Because, I mean, some people in Trials would accumulate like 60 pieces in a weekend. I think if you guaranteed a piece when you go Flawless, either when one of two things happens, either you go Flawless or you get 7 wins on your card. You're guaranteed a piece of Artifice Armor each week if you do that, with a low chance for it to drop elsewhere. I think that would be fine for Trials. And that's simply because dungeons are so easy to go farm now. I think Master Raid should have the same guarantee. Your first clear, you should be guaranteed a piece of Artifice Armor, with a low chance for it to drop on any other encounter. And then Grandmasters, I think your first Grandmaster of the week should guarantee you a piece. I think that those are, because the people who are doing those types of activities are the ones who are going after the armor. You're not playing Iron Banner hoping to get this. You're not running Vanguard Strikes needing Artifice Armor. You're needing Artifice Armor because you're trying to go for day ones. You're trying to go Flawless. You're trying to do Grandmasters. You're trying to do, low man raids. That's what you want this. So you're trying to do master modes. Mm-hmm. That's what this is for. This is like the big dick shit. But that's significant enough that across 5 people, that's +15 across your stats. Distributed however you want it, which you may be like, oh, that's not that big of a deal. That can be the difference between like tier 8 and tier 9 or something, or between having 200s and triple hundreds. Like it actually can make a difference in your build, especially depending on what class you're running.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I think that more avenues should reward it, but we have to be careful to make sure it's not being just handed out. I do think that's not like a gatekeeping thing for me. That is just very much this is a more prestigious thing. And it is, like you said, it's kind of the armor equivalent of Adepts. I don't think we should just be handing it out like free candy, but it should be slightly easier to get than it is now.
Yeah.
At least get more avenues. I don't know if more avenues equals easier, but that's what we're going to go with.
Not necessarily, but I agree with you. It should be in a lot of at least the harder in-game events.
Yeah.
Especially like I'm shocked that Master Raids don't give it out.
Well, I mean, Master Raids they have an adept weapon for every encounter, for every challenge. So that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
On that front, that makes sense to me. And you're guaranteed high statted armor in there too, I believe.
Yeah.
The other thing, we have one final question. Not really a question, but we have been asked about this now a couple of times, so I want to make sure that we address it. Jiggly Panda asks us, not really a question, but have you guys revealed your exotics yet? I know that was a question a while back, and I've been waiting to hear your ideas. We are going to do build your own exotic and build your own seasonal event next week, tentatively next week.
Yeah.
We're going to come in. Unless the story takes some massive right turn, we're going to come in and do this next week.
Yeah.
I've been waiting for a time to do it. I said we would do it in September. We're going to come in right under the wire. It probably would have been this week if everything hadn't completely broken over the weekend. and knowing that that's the beauty of, things breaking the morning after we do a show, is I can just push everything back.
Yeah.
So the plan is to do it this Thursday. I'll be out of town this weekend. I'll be thinking about it. I've got my seasonal event worked out. I gotta finish working on my exotic.
Ooh.
But yeah, I might solicit some ideas from a few other people to share here on the show. Before we get out of here, though, Corey, I did want to address one thing. I know we didn't really talk about the story this week because the story, it's so disjointed with how the servers are right now. I really don't think I didn't get to hear a lot of the dialogue, and God bless them, but Bungie is not unlocking things in the API this season, and it's really, really frustrating.
Yeah.
I have to pretty much read it directly from the game.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. We were talking about this before the show started, and it frustrates me to no end that within an hour of the season being live, we get cutscenes leaked, but I can't read fucking lore entries 5 weeks into the season.
Right.
And I really need to be able to read the ones that we're getting in the lore books right now, especially in the Dusk and Dawn one. I need to be able to read those out. That's very much how I've been building my lore corners, then thinking that they're just going to unlock and, pushing back. I'm running out of things to push back on.
Yeah. I wonder if they'll unlock it after the seasonal story. Some of it, at least.
I don't know. I just think they've never gone this long. We've had like 2 or 3 weeks at a time that aren't unlocking. We've never gone this long without like weeks 1 and 2, though.
Yeah.
We are 5 weeks in. We will be 6 weeks in by the time we get another API update, and I hope it's part of it.
Yeah.
I hope it's part of it. I understand there's been more pressing issues, but that is something that's like relatively minor that's really irking me. But along the lines of the story, I would encourage you, if you've not done the story yet, try and see if the servers will be stable enough for you to do it. When you go in and do the mission it gives you, normally story missions disappear. The mission it gives you, the Embaru engine, does not disappear. And there's supposed to be a bunch of secrets in there. I think they're going to add secrets each week. There is a triumph for completing the riddle, the puzzle riddle that you get in there this week. Which, I mean, you get as many tries as you want, so it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
I think it's a really interesting layout there in the room. I really like it. I think there's going to be ways to shift the room in future weeks. That's the indication that I'm getting by looking at it. So I look forward to seeing what they do there. This is the kind of wacky stuff that I like from Bungie.
Yeah.
This season, I feel like they really just like, they said we were going to get something different. We truly got something different. They really just like last season and this season, I feel like they unchained their seasonal developers and said, think of some wacky stuff. Like last season, we got the deep dives, right? With the roguelike elements. This season, we're getting the deck of many things. We're getting that. We're getting, we've got a mini like Altars of Sorrow activity going on. We've got the Spire, which has secrets in it each week. And every 2 weeks, it seems like we're getting the Elemental Affinity. So we should fill out Elemental Affinity next week, which is really cool if we've been playing along in the story, because now you can do all the secrets in the Spire
right
at once.
Yeah.
You have those affinities. And, you've got things like that. And we know that those are on, weekly lockouts and whatnot. Look forward to being able to do that. There's a room in the second encounter that we've never been able to get in, that we're waiting for seals to break off on. It kind of looks like you need to have like all 3 elements. Somebody has to have all 3 elements to be able to get through it. Excited to see if that leads to like a secret boss or maybe an exotic mission. There's a lot of stuff here that I think is really, really cool. And I love that they're doing it inside the Throne World. This is the stuff we were excited for with the Witch Queen. I think it was the one thing that it really fell short on was the secrets. It felt like we were promised all these secrets and we didn't get them. And I think now like they're making good on that promise. It took us over a year to get here, but we're delivering on those secrets now. Like the Throne World is a mysterious place. We're dealing with a literal witch.
Right.
So encourage you to go do the Embaru engine if you've not done it yet. It's really cool. Check it out. We'll check in with it each the next couple of weeks to see if there's more secrets.
More secrets.
Well, Corey, do you have anything else for us tonight, or are we going to get out of here a little early?
I think, it's a regular length show. It's just we started earlier, so yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we're gonna get out of here, Josh.
I will have some checkmate feedback next week too. It went live today. I've not had a chance to play.
Yeah,
but I'm going to play some next week, and hopefully the servers will be a little more stable so I can play it.
Yeah. Well, everyone, thanks for listening or watching. You can catch this show every Friday if you're new. New episodes every Friday. You can subscribe on YouTube, podcast service, all that stuff. Josh, thank you for your time tonight, as well as always. Where can we find you?
You can find me Twitter temporarily, I guess, at Josh_Finn 2's. I cannot read replies anymore. So at least on mobile. So I'm like kind of like losing my mind a little bit.
Yeah.
It's really, really aggravating.
It's one of those new features you probably have to pay for or something.
Probably. It's just like, okay, I'm kind of losing it now.
Maybe Elon Musk thinks the Unity thing is a good idea, and he'll charge 20 cents for every reply read.
He probably does.
Oh man. Well, you can find me at I am Corey HD on most social media. You can follow us at Tower Casuals. Join the Discord. Where you can interact with us and ask questions. I want to thank everybody for watching and or listening. And until next time, we love you. Goodbye.